Hey everyone, Theme Park DNA here. Today I'm going to be putting a leather wrap on my Ultimate Works Boars the Dragon Slayer Saber. Alright, so I've ordered my leather from Defcon Bird on eBay, and most of you would probably be familiar with him. Great product. Great customer service, and as it turns out, he's from my home state, so that's awesome too. So I started off with the leather and I mocked it around the area that I want to wrap, and I figured out that I want to use a certain length that turns out that is about half. So I'm going to start by just cutting this leather in half so that I can use it twice. That'll be nice. So in case you're wondering, this is Starlight Black, which is a black leather, and it's got a flat finish, but there are kind of specks of it that are kind of brighter black that kind of have a shine to them. Kind of gives it a texture feel, but I still, with the gunmetal hilt here, I just wanted to try black, but something with a little bit of character. But we're gonna start. Get this out of their way. I have the tools I'm going to be using today. Of course, I have my saber. I have some contact cement. I have a rotary cutter. I have a surface that's safe to cut on, and of course I have my leather wrap. So I've already kind of measured what halfway is. I did a little bit of it off camera to save a little bit of video length, and just give that a man. These rotary cutters are seriously sharp. I thought that was going to be a challenge, and it cut right through it. So luckily we have the right tool for the task. I pre-measured using this half, so I'm going to stick with it. Now these pieces of leather, so I ordered from him two different lengths of the same Starlight Black leather, and he pre-cut the ends for me, and so I've kind of looked and measured how much of a taper he has on here, and it's about 5 inches. So I'm going to do the same on the other side, and I'm going to do the opposite slant. So I'm going to start here. So we're going to go from the 10 to the 15 here. Just so you know, these cutting mats here, all these squares are 1-inch squares. Makes it really nice. You don't have to measure. You don't have to fool with measuring. So I'm going to go with an opposite slant, and I'm going to start here. I'm going to cut diagonally to there. Now to match the same cut that Defcon Bird made, he didn't come all the way to a point. Right, he stopped about a 1/16 of an inch short, so I'm just going to score that. I'm going to go over here to my start. Alright, well, I didn't, actually I came to a point. It's really difficult. Not doing this as much as Defcon Bird does. I'm just going to trim that off. Alright, nice. no, that's not quite. I'm going to fix this. A little too severe on the beginning of my cut. I'm just going to trim a little bit off here to make that a little more of a straight diagonal. It's going to be a little bit more than my 5 inches, but it's okay. Well, we'll hope if it's okay. Seriously, I can't overstate that. These rotary cutters are awesome. These are just simple. I got these at Walmart. They're just Westcott brand. But I think it's just the rotary cutters in general. There's a reason why people use these for fabric and leather, which is traditionally really difficult to cut. Alright, so I got that cut. My next step is I'm going to mock up again. Because, you know, measure twice and cut once, right? We're going to use that principle for gluing too. Now, I use contact cement purposefully. I want a good permanent bond, but I want, well, really I want a semi-permanent bond, right? I want a bond that's going to stay put and not come off with use, but at the same time, if I ever change my mind, if I ever decide I want to weather this heavily, or I just want to change colors, or I want to sell it and someone doesn't want the black, they want a different color, then I want something that I can remove. So I'm not going to use super glue. But I still want something that has somewhat of a flexible bond so that it feels nicer under the leather, but also, you know, something like super glue that has a really hard bond, crystalline bond. You tend to get like little creases and things of that nature. So I started off, I think the key to a good leather wrap is consistency in the distance in each layer. So I started off with, when I was mocking it up, with the leather underneath coming about halfway on my leather, but I didn't like the look of the wrap. There was too many leather layers in it, and it just looked kind of, it just didn't have the look I wanted on it. So I'm trying to go with it's going to be more difficult to be consistent here in each layer, but I think what I'm going to go for here is approximately a third of the width, or a third of the layer underneath would be under the top layer, something similar. So it looks like I really need my taper to start here. I think when I first mocked this up, I might have mocked it up to all the way down, and it looks like I did. And in retrospect, I don't. I want to stop here. So I really need my taper to start, I think, about where the metal comes in contact, right? But on the opposite point of the leather. So about here, I'm going to give myself a little bit of forgiveness. So we'll start here and go 5 inches. Alright. Times. So let's start on 15 again. About here. And here's our 10, so I want to end here. Alright, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's correct. I can add. Yay. Alright. Let's try this again. Get my rotary cutter out. And I want to start here. And I want to end about here. This will kind of stretch on you. Wow, that got just what I wanted, I think. And because I want to nip this right there and leave it just a little flat, because my opposing cut has that little flat tip on the end. And so I'm going to copy what Defcon Bird did. And I'm just cleaning up this end. This is going to be the end that shows. Alright. And that's why we mock up twice. And I'm glad that if I had to cut twice, it's on the too long side so that I can make another cut. So this, I'm not liking this right here. It was that score that I made. The angle was a little too severe. I'm going to have to clean this up by widening my angle a hair. These rotary cutters are really easy to use. Really easy to cut. This is looking really good. Considering that I'm doing it, right? Because I'm not an expert. This is the first time I've done this. And so I guess we're kind of learning together, and that's fine with me if it's okay with you. I don't claim to be an expert. Hopefully I never will. And if I do, feel free to call me on it. Alright, we got that cleaned up. This video may be longer than I want it to be. Alright, it would not help for me to be a contractor. I want things done just so. There we go. That's pretty clean. I think I'm happy with that. It's not perfect, but I think it looks all right. There we go. Clean workspace. All right, I think I'm happy with that. Now let's mock it up again. Alright, now a good sign that we've got this measured the way we want it is that the bottom of my leather here is going to come in contact with the bottom of where I want to stop, about the same place as the opposite of where my cut starts. Does that make sense? Right, so the point to where the leather touches my ridge right here, if I go draw an imaginary line across the leather, it's about where I want my cut to start. And it looks like I'm pretty close. It's not perfect, and so what that'll do is as I'm going across the bottom here to finish it up, my angle that I cut here should approximately match the angle of the other layers, so that we get a bit of continuity. And it's going to end right there. Yeah, I'm going to be happy with that. If I can get it just like that, I think I'll call that a win. May not be perfect. And see, look, here's where my cut ends. It looks like my 5 inches is going to be just past, about almost an inch past a full rotation of the saber. So if I can get it glued on like this, we will call that a W. So now we do it again, but this time for reals. Alright, so I've decided that I'm going to start at the back of the saber and start away from there, and we'll see what happens. If my mock-up is correct, then I should end approximately the same place on the hilt horizontally as I started. So hopefully that puts the tail at the back end. The saber doesn't really have a CoverTech wheel, but if it did, I'd probably put it at the back down here. Well, it won't fit because of this, but if I ever did install one, it'd probably be back here to hide that tail. Chances are I'm not going to. I like it like it is. It technically has an O-ring on it, but it's not really usable. It's so thin. It's a split ring. I suppose I could try to put something a little beefier in there, but I don't know that it'll fit. Anyway, I ramble. Let's not concern ourselves with such things. Right now, I suppose I'm stalling because I don't want to get started with the glue. Well, another reason I chose contact cement is that you can rub it off. So I'm going to glue approximately 5 inches to get us to our first rotation. I don't want to glue too much because then the tail that I'm not using currently will stick to everything and it'll just be difficult to deal with. Alright, so it has begun. Alright, we got our first rotation without any problems. So the 5 inches is a good rule. Like I said earlier, I cut the tail to 5 inches and it was a little more than a rotation. So by sticking with that 5 inches, that means I can get a full rotation and still have a little bit of the leather that has glue on it. So that means I'll have I won't have any gaps that won't have glue. Let's see, where did I go from here? Go to 12. Another good thing about this contact cement is that the bond with the glue takes 15 minutes to all the way to 2 hours to completely cure. And so it's not like working with epoxy where it cures so fast that you can't hardly work with it. And so Alright, that's going to be about another 5 inches. Trying to make sure my glue is nice and even. And here we go. Alright, so sticking with my angle here, I can tell if I go too far this way because I get a wrinkle here. And if I go too far this way, it starts getting parallel on me. So as I wrap it, I just try to stay in between the navigational beacons, so to speak. Alright, we've got another 5 inches. A little more actually, so I'm going to actually back this up a little. I'm taking my time because I want it to look good, and it should be one of those things where if I take my time now, every time I look at it, I won't be disappointed. Now, it doesn't mean I'm one of those people who kind of always find fault in my work. I want it to be perfect, and of course, I'm not perfect. But I find that want to be perfect, even though I know I'm not going to be perfect, helps me to be better, to get better. And that's the goal, is to get better, because largely I am teaching myself how to do this, or watching videos like you do, right? And some of this I figure out as I go. Alright, let's begin again. As I go along, I want to make sure that I'm trying to smooth it out as I go, not only to kind of help make that bond permanent, but also to try to get any kind of bubbles. I mean, with leather, you don't have to really worry about bubbles so much, but inconsistencies, right? I'm trying to even that glue out on the inside. And I've gotten about another rotation. So far, it's not perfect, but I'm pretty happy with the result so far. Let that glue drip down to the brush. A little bit more to finish it up with. Looks like about 2.5 more rotations and we're gonna be done. Uh-oh. Alright, I have gotten a little too high on my... There, that's better. My leather was just a little off. Alright, I added just a little bit more glue to the tail, and I want it to have a good bond, so I had more on there than I needed. And when I pressed it up against the other leather, it had a little ooze out. I'll just clean that up. Alright, so I had a little glue get on my saber, not a big deal. Most of it will come off with a little water and a paper towel or your thumbnail. But because of this, well, I just got impatient, to be honest with you. So I'm just applying a little bit of Goo Gone here. And this should break up the bonds. Should be able to just rub that right off. Alright, here is the finished product. The end of my tail ended up the opposite side from where I started. I started pretty close to my auxiliary switch here, and I ended up the exact opposite here on the front. But the way I traditionally hold my saber, one-handed, it's going to be up here, so I'm away from the tail. Two-handed, I'm usually going to be like this. I'm still kind of away from the tail for the most part. Had it been on the back side, I probably would have come in contact with a little more. So, here's how it turned out. It is not perfect, but I'm okay with it regardless. Especially down here at the end, I got a little loose with my distancing, but I got a little too much overlap at the beginning, and I had to trail it off to make sure I got to all the way down to the end here. All in all, I'm pretty happy with the results. I'm gonna let this cure for about 24 hours before I start handling it heavily, and then I want to kind of put it through its paces. I haven't done a review on this saber yet, so this will kind of give me a chance. I'm gonna catch up on some other videos. I'm gonna let this completely cure, and then I'm gonna put this through the paces with the leather on, and when I do a review on this Boars the Dragon Slayer, I will kind of give you an update on how the leather held up to my handling of it. Alright, now I want to know what you think. What do you think about leather wraps in general? Let me know what you think about this leather wrap. You like it? You don't like it? I'm okay with constructive criticism. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Looking at my analytics, it looks like about 89 to 90% of you watching my videos currently are not subscribed. We're going to have a giveaway coming up at 750 subscribers, so subscribe now to be a part of that. That's going to do it for today, guys. Thank you for watching.